everybody. How we doing today? I, of course, am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And as you guys see, I've got an amazing team of people with me. I've got Miss Cynthia Sue Larson over here next to me. I've got Mr. Christopher Anatra. I've got Shane Robinson with me. Of course, you guys know us as the International Mandela Effect Conference. We're so glad to have you guys here for this absolutely special mini-sode today. This is not one of our regular live episodes, so you're not missing a chat this time. Don't worry. You didn't miss the live. We did this one pre-recorded. We've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about, folks, so I cannot wait to get into this. Of course, it's all Mandela Effect related, or we wouldn't be here. So starting out with a really, really strange, well, of course, it's all strange, right? Flower that has been found. So what we're really going to be talking about today is the sun overall. It's going to be a lot of stuff that has to do with aspects of the sun, starting with a sunflower. Chris, what do you know about this?
Okay, this is a giant Mongolian sunflower. You can buy the seeds on Amazon. I've never seen a sunflower this big. You know, I've seen them grow tall, but not like this.
No.
And the reason it caught my attention is, you know, people are talking about sunflowers and how they're no longer like the head of the sunflower is no longer turning to face the sun anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing some research on sunflowers, and then this thing popped up. So I wanted to see if this is just a personal thing for me, or if you guys have ever seen a sunflower this big growing in someone's yard.
Shane?
No, definitely not. I would have noticed.
Cynthia?
This is new for me as well. It's kind of startling and it looks different. It's got a different shape. Like usually sunflowers look like plates, kind of flat. This looks very, it looks like a bowl shape, or, you know, it's got a real different surface area to it. Looks a lot more
This looks
curved.
to, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the leaves are huge. I don't remember anything like this.
It looks to me like a Jim Henson character. Yeah, I've never seen anything like this before. This is absolutely wild looking. And these are normal. Well, where are these found? Do you know?
Well, it says that they were originally from Mongolia, but people have been planting them in their yards. So it's something pretty common. You can buy the seeds on Amazon. To me, it looks like something from an alien planet.
Yeah.
It totally looks like it could just take off running across the yard, doesn't
right?
it?
It's like a costume. Like this is a child
Right.
dressed up for Halloween.
For real.
That would be an
Someone in there.
awesome outfit. Yeah.
Right?
What are
Yes.
you? A
Whereas-
giant Mongolian son? A what?
Yeah, but the leaves are so ginormous, and then the petals are so small, and
So-
it makes
so
for
tiny. Yeah.
yeah.
Looks like a hat, like someone tipped their head down. They're hiding in there.
So are we on a new timeline or is it on our timeline?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, right? But
Like, this is amazing.
yeah, and that's kind of like you were saying, that's kind of the topic of our minisode today. It's just talking about these things that are bringing our attention to the sun, or a lot of the things we're going to talk about today. So this is the first thing that we're going to go over. So if this is a Mandela effect for anyone else, you know, leave us a comment, let us know. Some people might say, I've always known about these. I have 20 of them growing in my backyard, and that's okay. But for me, it was like, whoa, I've never seen anything like that.
Well, to that person, welcome to our timeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing these wonderful flowers with you.
Right? Those are really, really cool. And the orange, keeping on with this theme, that isn't the only strange orange thing that's been noticed. We remember our sun, at least I know I remember, and I've seen a lot of videos lately. I'm not the only one. Moneybags put together a thing the other day about people putting videos together with the sun now being white instead of the orange color that we remember, right? Do we all remember an orange or reddish sun growing up, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So now we don't get the orange in the daytime. We get the orange in the nighttime, right? Chris, what is this
Yeah.
once again?
Yeah, so like when it comes to the color of the sun, like I think myself and everyone, a lot of people notice this for a while, but the color of the sun has been white, especially when it's up in the sky. When it's coming up in the morning or going down, it seems to get more of the glow that we remember. And then some of us are seeing like things being projected out of it in rainbow colors. And sometimes I see like streaming particles coming out, but only like when it's hit on the horizon. I don't see it like when that's up in the sky. And it does hurt your eyes to see it when it's up in the sky. And it does feel hotter. So I don't know if anyone else here has been noticing the same things.
I did actually. I noticed it last week, and I've noticed it a number of times. But last week, I also noticed it again as I was watching the sunset from my job. Standing on the back dock, I was looking out, and I noticed that it's nice and orange and red right now. Where is that during the day that we remember?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
at the very lightest, it was a yellow sun in the middle of the day. And even the sky now isn't the sky blue, it's a much darker blue. So you got a whiter sun, a darker blue in the middle of, high noon, if you will, when the sun should be right overhead and bright and yellow. And one of the other things I've noticed that I just recently tied in with this was the colors that Chris and I have talked about, how you can see iridescence in the clouds, and sometimes that reflects on the car, and it creates this real rainbowy type environment in your vision that's new for me. The other thing
Yeah.
is noticing people that are wearing fluorescents. Like, man, that fluorescent color sure is popping. And then I realized, like, that's what black lights are. They're UV lights, and that's, it's like UV light is increasing, but we don't see the UV increasing. We only see the reaction it has with fluorescence, right? So that's why it just dawned on me one day. I'm like, oh, that's why I like, shoes. And I thought maybe they got better with doing fluorescent colors on materials, but it's the sun as
Right.
well. It's the UV. And we all watch Mr. MBB 333 take those readings. And so we know that we're getting way higher readings than years before.
We know the UV is extremely much higher than it has ever been. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And just to add to that, I've heard of companies that make boats and their materials failing sooner than before,
Right.
buckling on some of the plastics they use because, and then we've noticed on billboards too. Have you noticed how they seem to fade so quickly now? Some of the
Yeah.
colors. I thought this was the ink, but I think it could be the sun's intensity sort of wearing it out quicker, maybe.
And some plants are suffering too. And it looks like all of this might be related to the Earth's electromagnetic field being substantially decreased from the mid 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the government was releasing the figures that it was going down kind of gradually, but it started speeding up. And then they stopped reporting what the reduction in the Earth's electromagnetic field actually is. So some of this we could definitely point to the reduction in the Earth's electromagnetic field and say, okay, then we would expect to see all of these changes.
I was going to say, wouldn't that even go for a suggestion of the theory that because of this consistently weakening field, the new effects that are happening to the Earth that are coming in from the outside, whatever those may be, could be causing the Mandela effect, could be causing reality to shift or us to shift around in reality, or however one would think about this, right?
Even on a scientific level of changing our DNA and activating things,
Right. Absolutely. Maybe it's activating abilities some of us have to literally change reality or jump realities. Like it's a lot of crazy theories we can go with that don't seem so crazy after you think about them, right?
Right.
And we're not the only planet in the solar system that's been having issues, actually. Every one of the planets has been heating up and having different issues, just like the Earth, which doesn't really fit the whole narrative going on, does it?
Chris, were you going to chime in with the light coming in?
Yeah, well, one of the things I wanted to mention, I want to show a picture here talking about what we see in the sky when it comes to colors.
Okay.
This is a picture that was taken on August 12th of this year over Pennsylvania, and it's showing the auroras. There was a minor geomagnetic storm that normally should not have produced auroras, especially all the way down in Pennsylvania, but it did. And the colors are becoming different and more rare than they were in the past. And I believe that we've spoken about orange auroras before.
Mm-hmm.
They did pop up in the past, and now they're becoming more common. And there was some information on the space weather site that I just wanted to read to you guys that'll kind of set the scene for what we're talking about here. But it says, auroras should not be orange, but they are. During last week's severe G4 class geomagnetic storm, Tony Bendelli of Pennsylvania saw something rare and a little mysterious. Orange auroras, he says. Yes, orange. I had never seen this color in auroras before. And then it goes on to say, at first I thought something was wrong, so I checked this image numerous times. The color orange is really there, he says. What's so mysterious? There's no element in Earth's atmosphere capable of making bright orange. It's simple chemistry. I'm just going to interrupt right there because I'm going to disagree with that a little bit, and I'll tell you why about there's no element in Earth's atmosphere capable of doing that. Every aurora has a matching atom or molecule. For instance, oxygen atoms produce red and green. Nitrogen molecules give us purple and sometimes pink. Theoretically, nitrogen and oxygen can produce emissions at orange wavelengths. However, these emissions are very weak compared to other colors produced by the same molecules. Then again, it says auroras should not be orange. So one of the things that I was doing, and by the way, this is the same, I'm going to show another picture here of that same aurora. This one's like a little bit more of a little bit
So
more.
I remember the reds and the greens, but I don't ever remember seeing an orange. I remember the other one you're talking about a couple weeks ago that came down into the lower 48. I actually seen a video of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It was absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, I don't remember orange being a standard color in the auroras.
Yeah, and like that article said that there's no element known to make the color orange. However, like I did some of my own research, and there is a type of gas in the atmosphere that produces orange, and that is neon. And neon gas is something that makes things glow. Neon gas is very special. It says that neon gas is one of those things that is created from stellar nuclear reactions. Like it's not an easy gas to synthesize at all. And even now, when they create neon for like neon signs or neon lighting and so forth, they actually have to take air and liquefy it and extract the neon out of it. And it's like 18 parts per million is how much neon is in there, hardly any neon. So, you know, one of the things I thought of, is it possible that we are in our atmosphere is changing and that our atmosphere is actually having more neon gas than before? And, you know, the thought is like, well, was there in the original Earth, so to speak, is it possible in the original matrix, I'll call it, is it possible that there was more neon gas in the atmosphere and our whole experience was different? Things just glowed differently. So I thought this was all really interesting. And then I was getting information too. I'm just going to add one more thing. I'll let you guys comment on this too. I was getting things related to what could be causing this and assistance. And I was getting that it had to do with a link with Andromeda. So the concept is we're in the Milky Way galaxy, and there's another galaxy called the Andromeda galaxy, which has begun to merge. And the halo of the Milky Way and the halo of the Andromeda galaxies they're already in the merging process. And the concept is that our future selves from Andromeda are helping us, and they're doing things to assist the whole progress and helping us, you know, with all the things coming from the sun, you know, perhaps bringing more neon into the atmosphere, basically restoring the atmosphere to the way it was originally. So all of these things are good, I think, to consider as possibilities. So right now, mainstream science says it's not possible. It's just the blending of different colors. And perhaps that's true. I was just getting other information that I wanted to share so that we could continue to ask the what ifs. Like, what is this possible? Perhaps is this possible? So I found this like super, super fascinating. And to see if this pattern of orange auroras continues. And I had seen this, I think I mentioned this before too. a quantum hypnosis session by someone named Allison Coe. And the person, this was like maybe a month or so ago, and they were talking about the future. And what happened in our time period was that the auroras became so intense, they actually hit ground level. So if you think about that, could an aurora, like right now, auroras are like so many miles up in the sky, like they don't form near ground level at all. But is it possible that things could become so vibrant in the future that we have these like beautiful displays of colors and just things that we're never able to see before? Now all of a sudden we can see, especially with the cryptochromes in our eyes. We now have these magnetic sensors in our eyes, which is a Mandela effect for a lot of us as well. We never knew humans had magnetic sensors in their eyes. So I think all these things are starting to come together. But I just wanted to share this information with everyone. And if anyone has any feedback, if you guys do, or anyone listening, please leave your comments about it. I'd like to hear your point of view also.
I got a quick question for you. When you said it was 18 parts per million, was that new data you just looked up? Or was that a while back? Could it have changed since you checked it? Is kind of what I'm wondering.
That's a good question. I just checked it within the last few hours. So, and what it was before, I don't know, but that's
right. Because that could totally be a Mandela effect, right? I mean, it might be 18 parts per million, but it might have always been 7 or something, and now we don't even realize it's changed. So that's kind of why I was asking.
Yeah.
The other thing is with, and it ties in with the solar thing. You mentioned Allison Coe, and years ago, we were discussing this idea of a solar flash. And it sort of came to me that we were actually in the solar flash. It's just that on cosmic time, it doesn't seem like a flash. It's drawn out. So it's gone from a yellow sun to a white sun. And we're still in the middle. It's still getting brighter and brighter. The energies are intensifying more and more all the time. So I really feel like we're actually in the flash. But how else can you see it in a session?
Like a flash slowed down to infinitesimally small speed.
Exactly. So if you were to do like a time lapse of the last 20 years, you'd see the sun, it's in the middle of getting brighter and brighter as we speak,
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is what I've been noticing about time being really different. Time and the sun, I think, are the two things we're talking about today. And I'm noticing with a lot of people that we're going to talk about this later, I think, in the show MINISODE today about time. But when it relates to the sun, that's a brilliant observation, that some of us who are moving into this higher dimensional state of vibratory frequency into our crystalline bodies, we're seeing those beautiful colors that you're describing. Like I'm noticing I didn't get burned with boiling water. I'm not getting sunburned. Things that we're changing. And as we change, it seems like part of that is like things slow down for those of us who are going faster. We might seem faster to those who are not going. I don't even know how to say this, but people may notice like everything's speeding up, and the people who are feeling that more intensely might not be moving with those of us who are evolving more. That's the best I can say. Does that make sense to you guys?
It totally makes sense. Yeah. And I've also often thought, like, if time's speeding up, being that we reference everything to time, it would almost be like invisible to us, right? Because everything happens per second. So if the second is actually not a constant as we think it is in mathematics, and it's actually increasing a little bit, then the Schumann and everything could be increasing, but it would look like it's staying the same from our point of view of measurements.
Yes, and we'll be getting the inspiration, the support, the divine guidance that we need. You might think of it through the sun, through spirit also, but that definitely supports this. And the 2 times that I've seen time slow to a stop, it really felt like I was going the same speed. I didn't feel like I was changing. So that's the way it is when that's what I love about the idea of witnessing the solar flash, but it seems slow. It's going at a manageable speed for those of us who are moving with it and evolving with it. It's brilliant. And getting back to what Chris was saying, for people that don't know what's going on about that, there's something called a flame test. I'm trying to bring it up here. I don't have anything fancy. Oh, shoot. There it is. Okay, so it's a flame test, and it's something in chemistry. So that's what we're talking about, that I used to use Bunsen burners in a chemistry laboratory, and then we'd burn some sodium, for example, and it burns orange. So the things that burn orange, what we're saying is they don't usually show up in the atmosphere. So we don't see lithium, calcium, and strontium, or we don't expect to see it in the atmosphere. And that's what's strange about that. just to give a little bit more background there.
Yeah,
And
and
as far as the Andromeda collision, that was super interesting too, because that's a Mandela effect, is it not? I mean, because I think that was new for a lot of us. Like, wait a minute, the Andromeda's colliding with our galaxy. When did this start happening? Right?
Right, because we
From
were moving apart, right? It was
right.
always, we're always moving apart. So how
Everything
are you
was,
colliding if we're always moving apart?
thank you. Yes. So that is a Mandela effect for me. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was going to just say, just to add like more to the interesting part of this, I'm going to show another picture. Okay.
Yeah.
This picture was taken this morning in my bathroom. So I had bought this canvas print of an aurora, I believe it's over Alaska. And I've been noticing that this is even changing to like an orange color. It wasn't so like orange before, but now I see orange inside of it. So I've been seeing this a lot, so mainstream science is noticing it, and I'm noticing it in my bathroom. So something's going on.
Very cool.
Yeah, so all of these things, like, so we got these sunflowers, the sun. The other concept is time speeding up. And I just wanted to mention too that one of the things that I was tuning into about Atlantis was that somehow they had figured out how to change the speed of light. And that
Wow.
was causing all kinds of weird anomalies with time and so forth. And they did it thousands and thousands of times. And so if our sun is changing and giving us more light and the colors are changing, is it possible that the sun itself is the speed of light from the sun is actually changing too? And that's why like we're experiencing time going faster, right? Because
Yes.
to me, these days and weeks and months, like it's already, for us, it's almost the end of August. I don't even know how we got to August. It just totally flew by. And it makes me think about our IMEC logo, which has the starscape in the background, because that's like showing how time can change very quickly. And to me, that's also a sign about there'll be more Mandela effects. So as
Yeah.
we've got the speed of light changing and timelines merging and so forth, these are all evidence that to me would also indicate that we're going to be seeing more and more of these Mandela effects, the big ones and the personal ones too.
Well,
When you mentioned Atlantis and them doing experiments there or changing time, were they using like particle collider type equipment, or was it something, or do you know?
For the speed of light, I'm not exactly sure, but they were using cyclotron tech. They had cyclotron technology. Perhaps they even figured out how to do something related to the sun itself. I don't know, but I do know that they were doing experiments that were changing how fast light would actually move in the reality.
It seems like we literally just got done with the conference in Connecticut, and we already have a conference coming up in under 3 months, ladies and gentlemen, in Nashville, Tennessee. That's right, November 7th through the 10th. The Hilton Garden Inn, Mount Juliet, Tennessee, specifically, which is Nashville. Uh, there are tickets on sale, $185 for 3 days of fun, excitement, and just getting to hang out with your fellow Mandela affected friends and speakers. And it's definitely something you don't want to miss. I can't believe this year's gone by so quick. So make sure with time speeding up that you get over to imec.world, IMEC.world, WORLD, and get your tickets for the conference coming up. Make sure you're there. We'd love to see every last one of you guys. All right, moving on. Chris, you were speaking about time moving fast still.
Yeah, it seems like, and honestly, I'll tell you too, some days it seems slower to me. I feel
Yes.
totally unproductive and slow. And I'm like, I'm going through the mud. How come I can't get anything done? I don't like feeling unproductive. This must change.
So
And
here's what I've noticed, Chris,
go
about
ahead.
that. Actually,
Yeah.
it's funny you should bring that up. I've been studying this phenomena for years on end. The speeding up, slowing down of time is something that I've noticed a lot. I know, Cynthia, you've looked into this a lot over the years. I know your research has kind of been around this at certain points, but one thing I've noticed is a pattern. It's an equilibrium pattern. So if it speeds up for a certain amount of time, it'll also slow down for that amount of time. So, for instance, I had 2 Sundays in a row when I was working in a hotel. Sundays are very slow in a hotel. Sundays are dead in a hotel. Let's be honest. Everybody's going home. They're not coming out, right? So I had 2 Sundays that were absolutely identical as far as the amount of people in building. It was almost the same day played over. It was really strange in that aspect. Uh, one of the Sundays, the first Sunday, felt like I could not keep up with the clock. That thing was running away. I couldn't get enough done. The clock was it was over. The shift was done. The next week, again, same situations. Absolutely nothing changed. Even same amount of people in house. Like I was amazed at how the closeness of the 2 Sundays were. I could not get the clock to move an inch all day. It felt like 10 minutes was an hour, right? Whereas before it felt like an hour was 10 minutes. So I really believe there's a give and take equivalency there. It'll speed up and then it'll slow down to even it out, then it'll match up again. Speed up, even out, match up. You know what I mean? That's what I've noticed. I don't know if maybe I'm the only one who's noticed this. I'd love to hear from the audience out there if you guys have noticed this. And how about you guys, team?
I'm noticing something recent that just in the last month or so that's different because I've been tracking this for like 25 years. But what I'm noticing recently is people like because of what I noticed with time discrepancies and changes and just just basic reality shifts and Mandela effects. I usually use a double or triple point calibration system when booking appointments and that kind of thing. Even so, I've had a number of just mishaps regarding scheduled appointments with other people, even though I'm using double and triple recording. And even though they're telling me the day before, I'm so excited to talk to you tomorrow. And then they completely forget the next day, completely forget. And in other cases, it's just, I've got something recorded in my handwriting on the calendar that makes no sense because it doesn't match any of my computer records. So then I disregard it, and it turned out that was correct. And it just really weird stuff. So it's not just me; it's a lot of people. So we're noticing, and that indicates some kind of a time discrepancy or a timeline shifting. And I'd love to hear if you guys are experiencing that too.
Actually, you reminded me that I've been recording on multiple devices lately while I'm doing the stars at night because I'll have one phone doing like, tracking satellites and another one recording one of them, the shutter staying open, taking a picture. And I'll try to go back and align things. And it's like they happen at different times. It's like, what the heck's going on with all my time codes?
Thank
So
you.
yeah, so it's when
That's
you get
it.
multiple devices in there, you can start to pick up these weird discrepancies,
Yes, yes, thank you. Exactly. And that matches what Chris noticed in April at his business, right, Chris, where the clocks on the computers weren't
Yep, the
matching.
servers messed up.
Yeah,
It's
that was
like
during the eclipse.
Yeah,
it's
Actually,
during
like
the
I
as the
think
eclipse.
it's
eclipse was ending. Yeah. It
And
was
it
we've been
also goes to the idea of the last conference we were at and how the clocks in the room were all completely different by 5 minutes. Nobody messed with them. Nobody was playing with them throughout the day. We watched the clocks begin to not work, begin to slow down, literally slow down to different times with the room full of people right there.
right.
Yeah, I recently had another experience with my computer time, my computer clock not being able to sync with like my cell phone. And usually they're, both times are exact.
Yeah.
And what happened was my computer crashed. It suddenly just crashed. And then I got it started again. And then when I finally got it started again, things started to sync. But there's definitely weird things going on with time and electronic devices and how they read time. And we know time isn't real anyway, right? Linear time is the illusion, the 60, I call it 60 frames per second that we observe. So yeah, these things are starting to break down.
And speaking of breakdown, you had a breakdown moment a couple weeks ago. You sent the team an email about a video you had watched, specifically about Easter Island. And I thought Easter Island was going to be the focus of this, but boy, was I surprised when I read the email. And I guess you got a little video segment perhaps to go along with this, Chris, but tell us about this astonishing moment you had because it's quite fascinating to me.
Yeah, so we've been, in our last open tables, we talked about the petroglyphs that are now on the back of the Easter Island statues that none of us had ever seen before. Quite interesting. So a couple of weeks ago, I was doing a little bit more research into the Easter Island statues. I found some different images on the backs of some of them, which I thought I haven't seen those before. And I was doing some research into that and seeing what I would tune into as far as that goes. And then what happened was, in my research, I came across something that I thought was quite traumatic, that there were 1,036 of these Easter Island statues on Easter Island. And I was like, there's over 1,000 of these? Like I thought maybe there were 70 or 80, based on the pictures that I've seen. I never knew that there was like over 1,000. So, and I actually saw, it was on my screen. I was on, one of the global narrative sites like Wikipedia, and it said that there were 1,036. And then I started watching, there's this one woman in Australia who created this short video about Easter Island statues. Her channel name, I believe, is called Soul Continuum. And we'll leave a link to that below so you can watch the whole video. It's like a 3-minute video. What I'd like to do, if it's cool with you guys, is just play like the first minute, because something happened when she was saying the number of statues. Something happened, like it glitched out. And then, well, I'll let you guys watch it, and then I'll stop it, and then I'll explain to you like what I've tuned into as far as that goes.
Scientists and geologists tell us that Easter Island was inhabited by some offshoots of the Polynesians around about 800 CE. Now, the whole island is 63 square miles. Australia is 3 million square miles, so you can sort of see it's not a very large island. And according to reports, it is assumed or projected that around 17,000 people lived on Easter Island in its absolute heyday. And it was very much an agricultural kind of place, and I would suggest probably not very highly technical, or advanced technologies wasn't part and parcel of living on that island in that time. So the question has to be, if there were 17,000 Polynesians or a mixture of potentially other races on Easter Island, why would they build and carve out 1,043 of the statues that are still present on Easter Island?
So she says the number, and she says her voice says 1,043. When I was first listening to it, it was like garbly. It was glitching out. And then on the screen, it showed that number of like 100,000. I'll see if I can go.
The statues
if I can go back to that.
Still present on 1,043 built and cut.
Yeah. So for some reason, the translation of her dialogue came up to say 101,043. And that's the way it shows now. But when I first listened to it, it glitched out. And then at the end of the video, she says the number again, and she said 1,043. And I'm like, she just said 1,036. Like, can't she remember what she just said? She went from 1,036 to 1,043. So then I went back and I listened to it again, and then this is there. And then I went back to Wikipedia, and now Wikipedia says there's 1,043. So the whole concept is that this was like almost like time was glitching out and changing right while I was watching this. Now I'm gonna say one more thing that's going to be super interesting. So just that there's over 1,000 was a big deal to me. That the whole thing glitched out, while I was listening to it, that was even more of a big deal. So what I did is I had called my girlfriend and I said, do you know how many statues there are of Easter Island? And you know what she said to me? She's like, yeah. What's that?
What did she say? What did she say?
Yeah, she said, yeah, there's over 1,000. I'm like, how did you know there's over 1,000? Like, that's incredible. I had no idea there's over 1,000. And she's like, you just called me 2 days ago and told me that there are over 1,000 of these statues. And I said, I just found out about this now, and I'm totally shocked. Like, I would have remembered 2 days ago. And she's like, how do you think I know there's over 1,000? You called me and told me this. So what is going on with time? It's just one of those things to add to the intrigue about.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So this was, and I was just, I'll add one more thing. I was watching this other video from this guy that was explaining really, really well about how the eternal now works and related to linear time. And he was using the analogy of when you go skiing, if you put on like orange ski goggles, everything has an orange tone to it. The snow looks orange, everything looks orange. You take them off and you see the true colors. I watched his video again, and instead of saying goggles, and I know he said goggles because I was imagining that in my mind, now he says sunglasses. And I'm like, I know you didn't say sunglasses. And this video is like 8 years. It's not a new video. It's like an old video. It's like 8 or 10 years old. So on this particular day, I was getting like a lot of this glitchy stuff going on. And if I didn't know better, I think I was going crazy. Especially when somebody says, I just told you that. And you're like, I just found this out and blah, blah, all those type of things. So if anyone else is listening to this and they're having weirdness in their life and somebody's saying that they did something or said something that they don't remember saying, they could literally not remember it because as these timelines are merging, you're dealing with like this other frequency version of them, so to speak. So there you go. Some food for thought right here with time and the sun and Easter Island and glitches.
Well, how many of you guys have all done that? You found out about a Mandela effect and you're like, well, I'll just go look at this. And then you go look and that's changed. Like, I don't know, the intro to, Mr. Wizard's World where it had the thinker. I'm like, I'll just go watch that intro. And then it like changed in it, but it was still old looking. It's like, what the heck? It does. So I'm totally right with you. It's happened a number of times. And it's those things you're sure about. You're like, well, I'll just go look here because I know they show it there and then it's changed. So yeah, it can make you feel like you're losing your mind, especially if you don't know what's happening. So
Oh, especially. It can be quite scary.
right.
But it sounds like Chris looped back on himself here, or you got somebody else playing his role, one of the two.
Yeah.
It
So
happen a lot. Yeah.
yeah.
I've,
So yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cynthia.
oh, well, I was just going to say I've experienced that too. And often people have arguments about you said this and no, I didn't. What I recommend is just to acknowledge quantum logic there. Like, it's not true or false, but it's true and false. It's like they both happened clearly. So one version of you interacted with another version of someone else, and this is going on all the time. And it's really ramping up, and we're noticing it a lot more. And it's good for us to get together and talk about it. So when it's experienced by people who've never encountered this, then they know they're not going crazy. This does happen. It's perfectly normal, and we're going to see more of it as we go through this kind of a quickening of time and a quickening of spiritual awakening.
I love that. Art Bell used to call it the quickening.
I was gonna say I like Cynthia how you mentioned like the quantum state that we're in right now.
Right.
Qubits can be either spin up or spin down, and both at the same time, and that's basically the same type of thing that's happening. And I feel I'm just going to add one more thing to this whole mixture. We're getting so much information, so much soft disclosure in movies about timelines. Like I swear, there's like all these shows, everything has to. It seems like timelines are involved. Even the 2023 winners of the Nobel Prize in Physics, the universe is not locally real. So, like, to me, these are chess moves showing us like all the possibilities to the way this reality is constructed so that people, you can't say, I've never heard of a timeline before. I don't understand the concept. Even like intellectual people that are, studying science and, wanting to look at things from that point of view with the Nobel Prize in Physics and other types of things, like you can begin to no longer deny it. To me, it's
Right.
like it's becoming so proliferated everywhere. So to me, I view these as positive chess moves that are people can either choose to stay asleep, obviously, or these are things that can begin to actually wake people up.
Nobel
Okay.
Prize. That was the Wigner's friend experiment, wasn't it?
No, it's Bell's theorem. So it had to do with just the way that there's this sort of you can get that instantaneous quantum effect. So there's entanglement across great distances. So that's something a lot of us expected to be proven at some point. So for those like myself, like finally they've got some proof. Finally that got recognized. like about time. The thing that I'm tracking that's not yet recognized widely at all is relational quantum mechanics. And I see that we're getting evidence of that in the Mandela effect. That we're seeing, for example, that in my reality, I wrote something on my calendar, or I remember things a certain way, but there's no objective reality. And we're seeing it, like Shane pointed out, with all the recording devices. You can't say which camera was correct, which one
Right.
is the true. There's not one right answer. There's not one objective observer. And the Mandela effect is really showing us that. And that's what I love about relational quantum mechanics, like Carlo Rovelli talks about in the paper that I wrote with George Weissman, the physicist. So I'm looking for people who are into that relational quantum mechanics. That's where the future lies for the new mathematics and the new physics. It has to include that. And we're seeing it with the Mandela effect. We're on the front edge of it. And I think we'll see more of that in the movies as well. I'm looking to see that everywhere. I'd love to see more of that.
And I love how your book covered all of this stuff we're talking about right now. So if you guys have your interest piqued in this discussion, check out her book. Shameless plug for my friend Cynthia there. But it's awesome. Yeah.
Mandela Effect and its society, correct?
Yes, awakening from me to we. So yeah, it's very interesting. Thank you.
It's a really great book for those
Great
who haven't read
resource.
it.
It's a great
Absolutely.
resource. Yeah.
A reference resource, 100%. Speaking of reference resources, we live in what some have described as a matrix, right? This has been a big talk amongst the Mandela Effect theorists and researchers about the potential of a simulation or a matrix world. Of course, we all know the Matrix movie, but that showed up as a Mandela Effect a little while back, did it not? In a very specific place, right?
In the Bible, yes. I remember
Yes, ma'am.
surprised to see that it showed up twice in the Bible. Yeah, it's very interesting. That was new for me.
Are you sure that it's only twice now?
It appears it's now like more than twice, and that's what shocked me too. I remember it being like, at least it was mentioned 2 times. Now there's 5 scriptures in the Old Testament in the King James version that all use the word matrix, and I'm just going to say what they are.
Oh, you got them. I was just
Yep.
about to read them too. All right.
Yeah. Jerry, you go ahead and read them. Yeah.
We have Exodus 13:12. We have Exodus 13:15. We also have Exodus 34:19. Were they exiting the Matrix? Why are they talking about the Matrix so much in the Exodus? That might be a clue in and of itself. Numbers 3:12. Really? Numbers, Matrix? I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And Numbers 18 and 15. So Exodus 13:15, Numbers 18:15, Exodus 13:12, Numbers 3:12. That's intriguing.
It is.
Yeah, Jerry, you brought up a good point about Exodus too. So when you
I
look
love
up,
it.
yeah, literally Exodus means the road out. So people leaving the old matrix, going into the new, or going, having the original matrix restored to way it was supposed to be. Yeah, so definitely leaving the old and going into the new. So I think that there's something to be read into that.
And the numbers 12 and 15 repeating in these 5 different passages. That's interesting too. Exodus 13:12, Numbers 3:12, Exodus 13:15, Numbers 18:15. So that's very interesting. 12, of course, we've got 12 months in a year, 12 hours in the first part of the day, and 12 in the second part. And it seems like the 12 to 15, there's some message there. I'm
The
not sure what that is.
358, doesn't that follow Fibonacci? 358?
Oh, wow. There's definitely a message here. So it looks like it's indicating there's a natural way to exit the matrix. Looks like it's indicating, look for the numbers and look for the natural Fibonacci natural sequence, the progression.
And that word matrix used to be womb, for those who are wondering, in the KJV at least.
And this is a big point of discussion for people looking at transhumanism, of course, and just suspicious that maybe this whole thing was some incursion, like the Matrix invaded the Bible. But then, Shane, you interviewed the author, you and Eileen.
Yeah, Eileen and I, we had Sophia on. That was actually one of our last interviews we did together, and she was talking about how she named the Matrix from the Bible. And I'm like, well, wait, the Matrix for me popped into the Bible like later as a reference to the movie. So it was like this paradox of, her naming it from something that wasn't even originally in my timeline at the time of her naming it. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, it does tie in with the transhumanism, as you were talking about with the Terminator and the rise of the machines, if you will.
And I've always been on this idea, and you guys have heard me speak of this before, prophecy theory, and especially in reference to the Bible, that each Mandela effect is prophetic of what is to come. And Matrix, of course, we see this has really been quite prophetic in our research and whatnot, and finding the Matrix everywhere, the idea of living in a Matrix. Perhaps this could be, as you were saying, Chris, a exodus of the Matrix, and it may have something very much to do with the numbers that are here in play. I don't know that, but going under prophecy theory like this fully fits in with that concept.
Yeah, and Pythagoras said that numbers rule the universe. So really,
Truth in numbers.
yeah. And so we've got two references from the book of Numbers. So look at the numbers for the road out. So yeah, there's a lot of clues with this. I want to look more closely at what these scriptures actually say. But then it was a good point too that Shane was saying about how it was usually referring to the womb of a mother. And I talk about my videos something called womb technology, which is something that females have to bring another consciousness into this world, so to speak. That's very, very unique and very, very special. Especially if the mom is a source player, she could bring in the consciousness of another source player into the world, so to speak. So yeah, there's a lot of the clues are all around us. They're all around us. I love it.
I would 100% agree with that, Chris. And speaking of numbers, there's some very, very important numbers that the audience needs to take down if they haven't already. And those numbers are November 7th through the 10th of 2024, as we will be in Nashville, Tennessee, all of us together, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. It's such a rare treat for all of us to be able to hang out with each other, let alone hang out with you guys, which we are looking forward to. Absolutely. Make sure you get your tickets today. $185, 3 days. It's a steal, folks. You're not going to find tickets like this for a conference anywhere else. Trust me, I've looked. We will be having some amazing speakers, like Miss Liz Larson. No relation to you, right, Cynthia?
Yeah, no relation that I know of. Nothing close.
And her friend, Bill McKenna, that's his name, correct?
That's right. Yes.
Who else we got lined up, team?
Yeah, well, the 7th, people are asking about the schedule, and it's important to note that if you want to see the whole thing, do not leave early on the 10th. That's a full day. So you want to stay with us all day Sunday. Thursday is our first meet and greet in the evening. So that would be Thursday, November 7th. Then we've got 3 full days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll start with, we've got our keynote speakers that you mentioned, Liz Larson and Bill McKenna. And then also speaking, of course, will be Christopher Anatra and Shane Robinson and myself, so that all of us here. Of course, the master of ceremonies is none other than the Dark Wolf himself, Jerry Hicks. And then the speakers include Crazy's Lab. We've got Lee Allen Bogus, hope I pronounced that correctly. We've got Pippa Una. She does a lot of timeline jumping and leads people on breaking out of loops. We've got Dr. Charles Labito. And he'll be,
woo.
I know, right? Yes, a doctor of psychology, and he'll be sharing his research in the field. We've also got.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Can we literally say that he got his PhD in Mandela Effects?
Because that's the topic of his research. That's his thesis. Yes. So absolutely.
Thesis. Okay.
And I love it.
His doctorate after that. So yeah.
That's dangerous territory. It could just disappear, right?
Right.
Well, not with us behind him. He'll be fine.
Right.
We've got Natasha Senkovich, and she'll be talking about shifting reality using your body. And she knows how to do belly dancing and working with prosperity. That's going to be amazing. You don't want to miss that. And then, of course, we've got Candace Craw Goldman talking about the quantum approach to Dolores Cannon's work and bringing that into hypnosis and reality shifting.
She
Shane
actually worked
Robinson.
with Dolores, didn't she?
I
Absolutely.
think so.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And then we've got Trish Lesage, who I've known for decades, and she's one of the original gangster reality shifters and Mandela Affected, and she's written books about it. So this is going to be amazing, amazing conference. You definitely want to be there with us and
An
anchor your
incredible lineup
realities.
for sure.
Yes,
Yeah. And
anchor
the
your
hangout is
reality in
all,
the golden age. Yeah,
yeah, and the hangouts are great. I love the fact that, our in-person ones, we've gone out and checked out the stars at night and things like that. So there's all the extra stuff that I love that makes it a full, complete, wonderful experience.
And I'm working on some side activities for the time myself. Some stuff I got to talk to the team about, so I can't say it publicly yet. They don't even know yet. So
Oh.
once we get that sorted out, I'll definitely get back to you guys on some extra events that I've been working on here on the ground. Also, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget, coming up, we have our open tables, of course, at the end of the month. We do want to see you guys in Nashville. Oh, also the hotel rooms where we will be holding the conference. There are rooms available for all of our guests.
the discount code. Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly what I was about to say, Cynthia. Thank you so much. IMEC 24, IMEC 24. Cynthia, you have already dealt with the hotel. You know how amazing that is, right?
Absolutely. They have our interest at heart, and they're thrilled to see us there in November. So they're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Can hardly wait to see everybody. It's going to be amazing.
It's definitely a treat that we only get to hang out once a year together, and especially with our whole entire audience that are able to join us. So it's definitely something that I look forward to every year for sure. And I hope you guys out there in the audience do too. I know the team does.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and with that said, on behalf of Cynthia Sue Larson, Christopher Anatra, you know him as the Quantum Businessman, Shane Robinson of Unbiased and On the Fence, again, Cynthia Sue Larson of Reality Shifters, I should say, and special thanks to our amazing producer in the back, Miss Heather, who does an incredible, incredible job holding all of us together and keeping us in line. That can be like herding ducks sometimes. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all these amazing people, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. Together, we are the International Mandela Effect Conference. And remember, until next we meet, together we go.
Together we grow.
grow.
Bye, everybody.
Love you.